work, B, what your best approach path is toward those certifications, and how we can develop strategies for you to pass them on your first try. When we look at Microsoft certification, we should understand before we start that path what the major or core audiences are for Microsoft certification. The first of those, the one that we're focusing on in this nugget, is what Microsoft calls the IT Pro, or, to expand this, the Information Technology Professional. Here we're looking at folks who are either interested in going into IT as a career or maybe progressing their existing career in IT by seeking job roles like the desktop support technician, the help desk technician, maybe the server or systems administrator, maybe even yet a department lead or an IT manager, a systems architect as they're called. These are typical job roles that are associated in IT Pro. And so specifically with Microsoft, the IT Pro certifications cover, well, Windows Server 2008, Windows 7 on the client desktop system, Office 2010 from a deployment standpoint, SharePoint, SQL Server. Actually, the SQL Server skill set, SQL Server incidentally is Microsoft's enterprise class relational database management system, is kind of an outlier here because the SQL skill set, in my experience, kind of is blurred a little bit between the IT Pro skills and the developer skills. Speaking of developer, that's our second certification audience. Microsoft considers a developer someone who either wants to or is already developing Windows and/or web and/or mobile applications using Microsoft's .NET framework. Therefore, we're using tools like Visual Studio and languages like C# and Visual Basic.NET to develop those applications. Of course, if we're in a Microsoft-centric certification environment, you can expect to learn how to build those .NET apps to then link into other Microsoft technologies, like, as we've previously discussed, Windows Server 2008, Windows 7, SQL Server. As I said, SQL Server certifications kind of go between IT Pro and Dev. There are several certification exams dealing specifically with using SQL Server in a .NET developer environment. The third Microsoft Cert audience is called Information Worker, sometimes shortened to Info Worker. These are empowered end users. These are business users who are making use of Microsoft server and client technologies to get their work done. Again, some of the audiences overlap each other. You have the business intelligence specialists, which can kind of cover all three of these classes. You have the power end users who are using Microsoft Office applications. Microsoft has a series of end user certifications for Office apps called the Microsoft Office Specialist titles, MOS. And it goes on from there. Now then, let's talk specifically of Microsoft certifications. In order to give those of you who are new to Microsoft certification some necessary background, I'm going to give you the way things used to be prior to Windows Server 2008. That is to say, Windows Server 2003 on back on the server, and on the desktop, Windows XP on back. Time was, in the early days of Microsoft certification, that you could pass a single technology exam, say the Windows 95 support exam, or the Windows NT Server 4.0 administration exam. That's taken some of you back quite a ways, right? You'd become what's called an MCP, or a Microsoft Certified Professional. Microsoft assigns you a permanent, globally unique identifier called an MCP ID. You get access to a private website. It has really nice benefits. Some of those still carry forward to certification in Microsoft today. We still call ourselves Microsoft Certified Professionals. We still have MCP IDs permanently associated with our transcript and our status in the Microsoft certification community. But from there, the nomenclature with the certifications has gotten much different. More on that in just a moment. In the IT Pro space, in the old scheme of things, you became either an MCSA and or an MCSE. What do these stand for? MCSA stands for Microsoft Certified Systems Administrator. It takes 4 exams covering technologies like Windows Server 2003 and Windows XP to earn this title. I'm not going to go into detail on becoming an MCSA or an MCSE because I would strongly recommend you bypass these certifications, even though they are technically still valid, and instead focus your energies, if you're a new cert candidate, on Windows Server 2008. We have to remember that there's always a lifetime with our certifications, and and we want to invest our time and money as wisely as possible to get as many years return on investment as we can in our certification journey. The MCSA's job role, according to Microsoft, is that of systems implementer. You're essentially a ground soldier, foot soldier, or grunt, as it were, and actually doing day by day Windows systems administration. Now that's just according to Microsoft. You may have an MCSA and be doing something completely different in the IT pro realm. This is just job roles according to Microsoft's own literature. So the MCSA involves 4 exams. A lot of folks used to use the MCSA as a stepping block to the MCSE, which has always been in Microsoft land the golden credential, the one everyone wants. 7 exams to earn this. 4 of them can be had with the MCSA. So what I mean is, most folks, in my experience, step up to the SE from the SA because 4 of the 7 exams are included in the track. I don't know if I've defined this. Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer. Now the Systems Engineer should give away what Microsoft thinks of this credential. This is for the decision maker or the systems planner. The MCSE job role is more about designing and rolling out and then maintaining Active Directory networks. The MCSA is considered a lower level credential where you don't necessarily have to worry about making decisions, you're carrying them out. Now, as of Windows Server 2008, Microsoft completely shuffled the deck in their Microsoft Certified Professional program. You'll recall that in the previous slide I mentioned that if you passed a single technology exam, say in Windows 98 or Windows 2000, you became an MCP. The problem I think Microsoft saw with that is that it was harder or more difficult for an individual to granularly define his or her certified skill set. In other words, I'm an MCP, but in what? You know what I mean? And even if you became an MCSA or an MCSE, Microsoft experimented for a while with creating specializations where you could go into, say, MCSE with a security concentration or with a messaging concentration looking at Microsoft Exchange Server. But that never really took off, quite honestly. Microsoft, with this new generation of certifications, allows the candidate to, as I said, more granularly define his or her areas of specialization. The baseline credential is called MCTS. This stands for Microsoft Certified Technology Specialist. It's the baseline or building block title. Microsoft offers a technology specialist exam for a lot of their server and even desktop products. I'll take you out into the Microsoft site very briefly and just show you around for a moment. The MCITP is the successor or the replacement to the Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer. Yes, it's one extra initial in this initialism, isn't it? It doesn't roll off the tongue quite as nicely as MCSE does, but this is what we're looking at as our golden goal with regard to Windows Server 2008 IT Pro credentialing. Now, Microsoft actually has experimented with super high-level certifications. These are the Microsoft Certified Master and Microsoft Certified Architect titles. These ones are beyond the scope of this nugget totally. They deal not only with computer-based testing, which is what we use to become an MCTS or MCITP, but they also require you to make presentations to Microsoft and do some practical lab work, kind of redolent to what Cisco has with their top-level CCIE title.